You need to base everything you do on changing your mindset and making sure you're not a lazy bum and on making sure you have the discipline to actually get what you want. I'm your host, Angie Michelle, with Barely Adulting, the no-filter chat about our 20s. Find us on Spotify, YouTube, and follow Angie76, your host, on social media. It is December 30th of 2023 when I'm recording this. Hello, welcome to the pod. We are starting this out this year. This is probably going to be the first one I actually put out there on Spotify. I am so excited about this podcast. You guys have no idea. I think one of the things I enjoy the most about creating content and has always been like creating like long form videos, and I kind of just realized like at the end of the day, like I enjoy sharing what I've experienced and try to leave people with something new, help them think more. So I thought honestly taking this on this year would be a really great personal project, and it would be something that I could give out to people, just like truly a way that I can leave anyone who does follow me with something. This video today, as I said, it's December 30th, so we are setting goals. We're reflecting over 2023. We are getting ready for 2024. 2023 was a year, okay? Like I literally, to give you the synopsis, I made a TikTok the other day. If you are watching the video and not listening through Spotify, I'm gonna put it right here, but for those of you guys who are not seeing, basically I made a vision board. I've been making vision boards for the last, I don't even know, like at least 5 years of my life. I've just done it every single time that the new year comes around. I love doing it. I truly believe that somehow, some way, it makes my things come true. And so my 2023 vision board, like looking back on it, it looks so busy. I think like if it embodies a single word, it's like busy, like hustle, like getting things done. And that is very much exactly what 2023 like felt like for me. And it was hard, it was fun, but it was super rewarding. And I made a TikTok where I was scrolling through, just showing a picture of last year's vision board, where I was just kind of showing what came true. And it was kind of mind-blowing. Like on January 3rd, 2023, literally like less than a week after I made this vision board, I made my vision board and I really wanted a car. I had like struggled really hard in my first semester of college without a car because I'm in Texas and I'm not used to just like walking like crazy, and I was off campus. It was a mess. And so, but it was wild. Like literally 3 days into the year, I was able to purchase my first car, which like huge accomplishment. Obviously it was on there like 4 times, and it was like right center of my vision board. It was just a SUV car, and I literally got it. I also went back on my journal because I don't just make my vision board, I actually like write that stuff down, and I literally wrote like buying my first car, which will be either a Kia, a Honda, or a Toyota. And my first car is a Kia Sportage, so it's kind of wild to me. Like, I truly believe these things are, like, very serious. And not just that, I also went on a trip. Like, I had a picture of, like, like the window of an airplane. I had a picture of that. Like, this year, I went to the beach. That was on my vision board. I think, like, something I really wanted was just, like, having a good, like, solid group of friends and, like, being able to actually bring people together, because again, like that first semester of college hit me really rough, and like I have all of those things that I visually put on there in like pictures, and it was like kind of wild to go back and be like, holy, like how did this like actually come true? But that is the power of visualizing. That is the power of the law of attraction. That is the power of like wishing and working for your goals. And if you came to like this video for me to tell you that just doing those things is going to get you somewhere, because if you put pictures on a board, then things are going to come true, I am so sorry to tell you, you're not in the right place. Because if there's one thing I feel like embodies me as a person, is like I am hustle. I am like always doing something, like probably always busy, like at least 90% of the time. My poor friends, my poor boyfriend, my poor family, like I'm either going crazy because I'm doing too much, or I'm going crazy because I'm not doing anything at all, which really only happened once, and it was when I went to college, because like my crazy life went from being like this busy to like this busy until I got my stuff together in 2023. But while I say get my stuff together, I also got like a little just too much going on to where I was not doing good. But things could be a lot worse. And I always like to tell myself, like, this year definitely had some changes. It like went really smoothly and like really up, and then as soon as we hit like August, September, right, like things were just going on in the family. Like there was a lot, like we moved, which this is my new room. it is bare. As you can see, it looks totally different, and just it was definitely an adjustment. I was not here, so I didn't move with them. It was just like kind of like, okay, all my stuff is getting moved across, and like I wasn't there. I was like grieving my childhood home, but like it was a good thing because this was good for the family, you know what I mean? Like good financially, good in general. And so definitely just a lot in that sense, and a lot of standing up for myself, like at work, at school, academically, as a person, like surrounding myself with good people, good relationships, finding myself in a healthy relationship, like, you know, all these things, I work towards them, and I've been very intentional about who I surround myself with, what I'm doing for work, how I'm doing with school, who like I am as a person is what has gotten me all those things that I planned for last year. So that is just honestly like huge to remember, that you can sit down and write stuff down and you can like make a picture of things, but if you are a lazy bum who does not do crap, for lack of better words, then you're not going to get the results. Like, you really are not. What I enjoy about these things is that it puts my mind into a perspective of receiving, and so I think that is the power in it. I don't think you're just magically writing stuff down and it's going to come true. I think I personally, like, why it's so good for me at this time of year is because for some reason I think I'm genuinely like every year just struggle with like seasonal depression. Not that I become like depressed, but I struggle. My mood is lower, like my vibrations just as a person like are super high during the spring and summer. Like I'm usually like go-getting, like go, like all is good, happiness, like no tears. And as soon as it hits September, for some reason, like my motivation goes from here to here, and I become like discipline driven, which is something else that you need to like remember when you're setting these goals. Like, you're not always going to have the motivation, you're going to have the discipline. Point being, right, that like when I do these things, when I'm at my worst, we could call it, like mentally, like just like in my mindset, I feel so much better as soon as I start the new year, because I get to sit down and think like, oh, like, okay, I need to like change. I need to change the way I'm thinking, because clearly I worked super freaking hard and got all these things. Like, I was able to pay my car payments, you know, I was able to get my 4.0, or I was able to like bring my GPA up, like literally all those things. You look back on it and you're like, oh wait, like why am I complaining this much? Like, why am I sitting here feeling bad for myself when I've literally done all this stuff that I wanted so badly last year? And that kind of makes you think, okay, gotta reset, gotta think about things more from gratitude perspective, more from a growth perspective, and that is why I think it's so powerful. Now, like, to get on the actual like meat of what I'm trying to tell you guys today is, you need to base everything you do on changing your mindset and making sure you're not a lazy bum, and on making sure you have the discipline to actually get what you want. Because we can do all these things, but they're not going to get you anywhere if you don't put the work in. Like, if there's one thing that characterizes my family, characterizes me, thanks to the way I was taught growing up, is that you work hard for what you want. Life is not fair. Life is not going to be always fair and good to you, but you got to work through it, and change is needed, and bad things are supposed to happen so that you can be more grateful for other things and you can keep going. And that is what you have to take on with your life. And that is something even I have to repeat to myself, because like I mentioned, I always have those 4 months of the year where I become a little bit like from my vibrations being up here of like, I can do anything, I become like, why is it so hard? And you have to be able to get yourself out of that. Even if it takes you longer, if it takes you 4 months, like that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to be able to have discipline to still continue working hard. End of rant. So, like I said, I know some of you guys are not going to be watching via video on the YouTube channel, but if you're listening and you want to check this out, just go check on the YouTube, go check on TikTok, go check on my Instagram. I'm literally going to share this everywhere because I just enjoy hopefully inspiring other people to do the same. So this is this year's vision board. Something I really wanted to embody in it to be a little different is that I wanted it to be more serene. I wanted there to seem to be like a little more balanced. It is not glued yet. My friend is actually coming over in like 3 hours, so we're gonna put it together. My last year's vision board, it was great. I learned something new this year though, and it was kind of revolutionary about just where you place things on your vision board. Basically, I was looking at someone who read a book that is all about how your brain works and how you can use that to your advantage when you're setting goals and when you're making these visual things for your goals, right? And so I'm probably going to butcher it, but just the big idea is that when you are creating that visual vision board, in the center, you want to make sure whatever goes there is like what you care about the most. Like that is like key to your year. Like if you don't get that, you know what I mean? Like you are not going to have a good year. That is what your center chunk of that square should be. Does that make sense? So for me, like I just put like 2024 is my year, and I kind of made it like into like a 4 thing. Now some people are gonna be like, well, just put one thing and focus on one thing. Okay, but again, like we're focusing on balance, so I made it into 4 things. Okay, so I had like dream job, right? I had like work and money and school kind of like combined, just like a desk. Then I had like me happy with friends and a relationship, etc. And then I had like right up here, but like all signifying the center, if that makes sense. It was like just a picture of myself, and it was like stay pretty, stay educated, outdress everyone, prioritize yourself, and be successful. Basically, the point being is like that is what you want to embody this year. Okay, so center is like key to your year. So you could have a word there. You can have, you know, like if you have a word of the year, if you really think it's super important, put it right there. And then what goes on the top of that vision board is top priority. So say you already put like, you know, very important, key to your year right in the center. And then at the top, you're going to go, you know, you can make it group related. That's what's something that she was talking about. So you could do career, friends, and like make sure to chunk them together. All of this helps your brain when it looks at it. Like, I don't know how it works. I am not a neuroscience major. I am none of that. I'm a business major. But the point that this girl was trying to explain, who had read the book, was that your brain processes information differently and digests things better when you do that, especially because center is what it's going to go focus on, but then it's going to go look up. And so whatever is the most priority to you to accomplish this year should be placed on the top of that vision board. Hope that makes sense. And then after that, obviously let it fall together. The last thing that I would say, and like as you see, like I haven't even glued mine, like there's things I'm going to add to it tonight. Organize it, like shapeshift it, whatever you want, let it sit overnight, look at it the next day and think like, what do you want to move around? And then make your decision from there, and then glue things down. That is my advice with vision boards. And then I love talking about this. I talked about this last year too. This, I know you can see it if you're on Spotify, but I have a notebook. I have a little journal. I am not a everyday journaling girly. I don't have the time for it. I wish I did. My discipline goes for other things like schoolwork and just eating and sleeping, just maintaining myself alive. But I do use this religiously at least once a year, and on the occasion when there's like, I don't know, some sort of fancy event going on where people are like, oh, you should really write down your goals on this day, and so I circle back to it. But my point being, I've done this for years, okay? So we have 2018 in here. I think it's when I started doing this religiously. And the reason I believe in these things so much is because in 2018, and I've said this so many times before, but I wrote down in a letter to myself that I would open in 2021, which was my senior year of high school, that I was going to be in the top 5% of my class when I graduated. And guess what? I was in high school, and I'm not saying this to be like cocky or anything like that, but I was top 5% of my class. I was number 68 out of 1,080 kids, and I had written that in 2018. Like when I was not even in high school. I think I was like in 8th grade, finishing off 8th grade. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these things are powerful because, like my college advisor likes to say, you are 10 times more likely to accomplish a goal if you write it down, because your brain processes it as something more serious. It's not so much because there's magic going on, but you're just working with your brain to make things be a certain way. 2020 I did this, 2021 I did it, 2023 I did it, and looking back, like, look at all that I do. The way I organize my journaling at the end of the year comes as reflection on 2023 or 2022, like whatever your prior year was. I do a full-on reflection of it, and I list out like all the things I accomplished that year, and then I move on to the new year and I make it this whole pretty thing. It's super visual. I'm like a super visual person. That's why I love making videos. That's why I love talking on these things. Like, I just love making things super visual, okay? So, for example, I'm just going to kind of list out some prompts. I've shared these on Instagram. Again, if you want to see more of this stuff, go on my TikTok, because that's where most of the meat is going to be, because I post this way more frequently, right? But when I start on the reflection, I always say so thinking of this year, I would say 2023 was a year that taught me what. Then I would list all the highlights and accomplishments from the past year. I would say what worked in 2022 or 2023, and I just kind of bullet out everything that did work out well for me, like, what habits were going well, what worked just in general. And then I would have a list for what didn't work in the prior year, and all this is just making you think about how it went, how it didn't go, what do you want to do better before you even start thinking about the next year. And then what did you learn in 2022 or sorry guys, I keep saying the past year because I'm just reading last year's, but what did you learn in 2023? You put down lessons you learned, hard things, good things, all those. How did my life evolve? So how do you think that you as a person grew? That is also super important. What in 2022 are you the most grateful for? Gratitude is important. If you don't have a mindset of gratitude, if you fall into something like a seasonal depression, if that is something you struggle with, like at the end of the year, you're fine, but you just got to be able to shift your brain into that mindset. And so once I finished doing that, and like the way you do that can be so many different ways. Like this year I did it again more visually. So I actually did kind of like a mind map. I answered all the same prompts, but I actually sat down and I made it into a little mind map because I thought it would be better. And then once I go on to actually journal what I want, like journal exactly what I am going to want to see this 2024, then that's when I start, so I create it very visually because again, my brain digests is better. And so last year I made my word of the year wonder. It was very interesting thinking back on it. I don't feel like wonder would be the best definition of how 2023 went. I would say hustle is the best definition of how 2023 went, but I'm gonna say wonder is not a bad thing to say because I think I wanted to keep it in like a positive mind. So yeah, there was hustle, there was a lot of work, there was a lot going on, but like wonder puts everything into like what is this doing for me, right? And I think that's like one of the best perspectives you can have is like, how is this working for me, not against me? Again, I'm not sitting here to tell you that I'm this perfect soul who always thinks that things are working for me, because God, I would be lying to you. This has been a harsh year for my family. It has been a harsh year in general, like in the past couple of years, honestly. So don't feel like if you are not being this like super smiley, all happy about life person all the time, that you're doing anything wrong. You are not. Please don't let anybody tell you so. But find the people who can check you on that and who can make sure that you don't fall into that trap of, victim mentality or just self-limiting anything mentality, like the people who do that are usually looking out for you. And so just make sure you have people like that. But anyway, once I always start with a theme. So I start with the big word of what I want my new year to be about. And then I move on and I kind of make a little drawing of myself. You can just do a mind map. I just want it to be visual. I did not do a visual this year. I just did a little mind map. But essentially, I do a thing about what is coming in like 2024, Angie. And so I would like point arrows in. And so like last year I did like an open mind, respecting myself, healthy in all definitions, which probably didn't happen near the end of the year because honestly I was so busy that I left my mental. Okay, we don't need to get into that, but the point being, you're gonna put all the things that you want, like the overall like hopes you have fully about yourself. And if you're anything like me, sometimes for some reason when I'm writing down goals, like I start thinking about my family, I start thinking about literally probably anyone in my near surroundings but me. And it's hard sometimes because like I'm an oldest daughter, like all these things that obviously affect me emotionally, like I put them on there because they're gonna help me. But try to make sure that everything you write on here about yourself like is about you and not about something that's gonna benefit your family. Like add those into a different section, but make sure that what you're writing down for your 2024 is about you, and then move on to other things. When you're journaling for that new year, so once you're done reflecting over the past year, I also did a part where I was like releasing in 2024, and so I would write down anything that is out. If you've seen the TikTok trend, that's like my ins and my outs, is essentially the same thing. So in 2024, what I want out, okay? And then I did the same with like what I want to come in during 2024. And then something really interesting that that I did implement last year is that I asked myself the question, what is my number one area of life in 2023? It's a really important question to include on there. So think about that. What is the number one area of your life in 2023? Is it going to be family? Is it going to be career? Is it going to be your well-being? Is it going to be your health, your fitness? What is it going to be? And how is that going to look like? And try to answer that. Next thing I did for planning for 2024, so for the next year, it's going to be, so your big picture 2023 goals. Again, like we said, these are about you. It's not about your family. It's all about you. And just make sure you do that. And then you can focus on anything with the family and people you care about in a different section, but focus on yourself first. My boyfriend says this all the time, honestly, like, I actually don't remember what he says, but it has something to do with like, happy Angie is the best Angie, and that is just what I want for you. And so every time he tells me this, it's usually because I'm going through some sort of a mental breakdown. But point being, like, your best self is the best gift you can give like anyone you love. And so doing these things and really focusing on looking inside and reflecting and just reevaluating yourself as much as you can, because you're not a perfect being. It's always a gift to other people, because then you're going to be better to them. And that's always what you should want to do. What I did last year is I went by areas. When you have the moment and you actually sit down, you want to split things up. So you want to do 2023 goals for health. So how do you want to feel? What is a word that you want to feel? Energized, calm, happy. You know, what are 2 goals that you want to actually accomplish that feeling in your health? Then area of relationships. You know, what is the most important? What relationships are the most important to you? What can you do to create more fulfilling relationships? What kind of quality in relationships do you want to invite into the next year? Then you move on into career, and that's when you go like, okay, the goal is to what do you want with your career? You know, that's what you want to define. And then what do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of in your career? What is one thing you want to learn when it comes to your professional and career life? I also did personal growth and spiritual, so, you know, reading books. Which books do you want to read? How will you feed your soul? Does that mean going to church for you? Does that mean journaling for you? Does that mean something totally separate for you? What does that mean for you, and how are you going to focus on that so that you feel that? Because you're not just a person who is going to be fueled by buying yourself gifts, by working, by studying, and by maybe seeing your friends. Like, there is more to you than that. What will you do to make yourself feel more alive the next year? You know, and then you can move on to your money goals. Like, how much do you want to make in 2023? How much money do you want to have saved? How much money do you want to invest? How do you want to invest that money in 2024? I keep talking in the last year. I'm sorry. It's because I'm reading from my last year's framework, so forgive me. But continuing on, so like creativity, what are you going to create in 2023? Why and how are you going to create that? That can be something totally different. I put creativity on there because I always say this, like, I was a dancer before. I like making videos. I'm doing this right now. Like, this is something I enjoy. Creativity is truly a part of my well-being. If I don't have a way to express myself, if I don't have an outlet, I simply will not be doing good. And so that is why that was like my extra thing on there. But for you, it could be anything else. You know, it could be like, I don't know, I can't think of a word, but think of something that is similar to like that, like sports, I don't know, anything of that sort, and focus on it. We have this fun tradition, which we do on December 21st, and when I did it with some friends and my boyfriend came over and we went with my family, it was really fun. But essentially, December 21st for Venezuelans, we call it the day where we welcome the spirit of Christmas. And essentially, like, you're just sitting down writing goals and writing things you want, wishes, and you are making them for the spirit of Christmas. But it's just like a tradition, and like essentially what it is that you write 7 wishes you have for the world, 7 wishes you have for your family, and 7 wishes you have for yourself. And it's kind of that idea. And so that's a good practice if you're someone who struggles with like writing things just for yourself. Because I remember when I was writing that, I was like, what do I want? Because once I finished like everything else, I was like, wait, like, okay, my family means a lot to me, clearly, because now I'm thinking it's harder to think about myself. Also, just keep in mind, like, if it was a really good year where you materialized a lot of those like long-term coming dreams, and you feel like next year, like, you don't have anything material you really want, I'm feeling that way. I feel like what I want is more of a feeling. What I want is more of like opportunity, and I want to seek the things that are meant for me. And I'm kind of approaching it not with a fear mindset, because I tend to fall into that mindset. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to be seeking like a car or a house or something like that, like an iPad or a camera. Like, you can just be seeking the feeling of peace, the feeling of balance, the feeling of financial stability. And anyway, this is my book. I love this little notebook. I kind of never want it to end because I truly believe it's like my magic notebook. Like, this means everything to me. Everything I've written on this has come true, has been dear to my heart. It's been something I've wanted really badly, and so I am just so happy to sit here with my microphone talking like I have a podcast, which I do. I need to remember that I do. And sharing all this with you guys. I will always say, and I've heard this from so many people in business so far, like, don't give advice because you really don't know anything more than other people do, but always share your experience, because someone might take something away from that and it might help them in a way, and you'll never know, but you could help someone. And that is what I want to do with this, and I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this video is good, it's helpful, and I hope everyone has a wonderful 2024. I'm really hoping it's a year filled with good stuff. I know 2023, I've talked to so many people, and I think everyone, like, collectively has kind of gone through some sort of change, some sort of challenge. It has not been an easy year. I think it overall has given people a lot, but I think it's really, like, you know, worked people. It's really challenged people. It's hurt some people, and, you know, all that is necessary for us to grow. My boyfriend always says, I swear I'm going to start quoting him all the time here, but he always says that a life that has no change is not as rewarding, because it's going to stay here. And so nothing's ever going to get better or worse. And when things go up and down, it can be difficult, but if you go from here all the way up here, like, gosh, like, sit down and thank yourself, because you worked hard for that and you deserve it. So that is it for this episode today. First episode that is going to be out. I think my focus with this podcast is going to be a lot about my outlet. I want this to be a podcast that focuses on really, like, what helps people get through, because I think I've been through things, but by all means, I'm grateful for everything I have and for everything that my parents have always done. I've met people who have such inspiring stories. I've met people who have totally different ways that they have an outlet, and totally different ways with which they look at life, and with which they've used kind of tactics to help them get through. And I think that's, if I can share that with you guys, by myself, with others, then I can honestly impact quite a few people, and that is the goal. That is the goal with this, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. I am so excited for 2024, and I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely day, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Okay, bye guys. See y'all. Mwah. I'm your host, Angie Michelle, with Barely Adulting, the no filter chat about our 20s. Find us on Spotify, YouTube, and follow Angie76, your host, on social media.